All right, welcome back. Let's talk about what the dailies are saying. This Nigeria is where we started from. Mr. Dai Akintobi joins us. Mr. Akintobi, thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure always.
I'm praying we will hear one word of what comes out of your mouth. I don't know what happened to your voice.
Now I know how Robert F. Kennedy feels when he talks, the U.S. Secretary for Human Affairs. His voice is terrible.
Okay, let's see what we can manage. We didn't know, would have told you to just relax, pull off.
It just happened overnight. I just woke up this morning and the voice was gone. It was normal yesterday.
Okay, wow, this is really wonderful. Let's get so you talk less. Yusuf versus Kwankwaso. So that's how this Nigeria is leading. Yusuf versus Kwankwaso, battle for Kano's 6 million votes rages. Governor, NAS members, others joining APC today. NNPP, Kwankwaso, this is biggest betrayal ever. I think he even declared that day the day of betrayal. What do you make of this?
A day that we live in infamy. I think the key is that bloc called Kwankwasiyya. The question is, will they move with the governor or will they stay with Kwankwaso? That is really the linchpin, because that Kwankwasiyya movement controls the votes in Kano State. And that group has been nurtured over the years by Kwankwaso himself. So the question is, where do their loyalties lie? If they stay with Kwankwaso, he will still be a formidable force in Kano politics. If they move with the governor, then that depletes Kwankwaso's influence and authority. My guessing is that Kwankwaso has a strong hold on that movement, and that the governor going, he's going to become a political orphan, but will also be protected by the governing party, which he used to belong to about 12 years ago. So he's simply just going back home. Politics is all about interests. Kwankwaso right now has an interest in the presidency or the vice presidency in 2027. The governor's interests don't align with that. And so there's a natural divergence of interests, which has made them go their separate ways.
And we could ask, critically also, if the interests are split right down the middle in Kano State between the governor and his political godfather, Alhaji Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, especially because the governor is leaving with a faction of the party and the state assembly, to a political destination that we have an idea of, but we're not going to conclude right now until the announcement is made. But we've also seen
what don't you want to conclude?
Jeffrey, hold on.
Is he going Is he going to a court party?
We have an idea, but hold on. Well, it's certainly not the ADC, because there are reports that Alhaji Musa Kwankwaso himself is headed for the ADC. We saw, that short clip over the weekend of thousands of supporters, by the way, who are urging him on to whatever political destination that he's headed. But it's interesting that they no longer see even Alhaji Kwankwaso himself no longer sees the NNPP as a viable vehicle, to fill his political aspiration. Why do you think he also has to leave?
Well, the interesting thing you should note is that the deputy governor is not in sync with the governor. Deputy governor, from all intents and indications, is not moving with the governor to the party. So what that tells me is that there's some ideology at play here, and there are issues of loyalty. NNPP, for all intents and purposes, is a one-horse race. I mean, it has put all its eggs in the Kano basket, and its leader has national ambitions. So he's recognized the fact that if he stays in the NNPC, he doesn't have enough national spread to be able to actualize his ambition. So he's looking for a broader platform. He knows, of course, he has no home in the APC. He tried to negotiate with the APC. Those talks fell apart. PDP is in shambles. Labour is nothing to speak of. ADC may be where he's headed, but he's put conditions down that he will go to the ADC if he's guaranteed a presidential or vice presidential slot. So the key thing to note is that he's recognized the fact that NNPP can't actualize him in national office.
Let's see how it goes. Speaking of which, that's going to be our first conversation on the program today. But let's check with another paper this morning. And I'm spoiled for choice this morning because two key papers, focus on different aspects of the economy. Perhaps we should check on the Guardian newspaper this morning. And There you have it. Decades of trade deals fail to wean Nigeria off crude oil dependence. You find details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, and we're just talking about the president's, seeming strengthening of ties with the Arab world, but a certain kind of avoidance, if you like, with the West. But whatever the case, the president has had a healthy dose of opportunities to market Nigeria and renew bilateral relations or strike new ones since 2023. Why are we, at this juncture, regardless?
This is the result of decades and decades and decades of oil dependence. We've focused all our energy on developing our oil sector to the detriment of other aspects of our economy. So even when you are out there trying to push trade deals about exporting other products from Nigeria, like cocoa, like cashew nuts, like soya beans, all the other things we produce, you have to start from somewhere, and it takes a while to build up this momentum. Then also the dependency on oil over the years. It's a very difficult thing to wean yourself off of because you become so dependent on it. And truth be told, oil is a very easy way to generate revenue. You just punch a hole in the ground once. And once you punch it in the ground once, Mother Nature just keeps bubbling that thing up out of the surface. You don't really need to do much work except protect the assets. But in terms of the rigor involved with oil prospecting, it's a one-off job. Once you've done the major oil find, the rest of it is just simple. So it's an easy way to make money, as opposed to things like mining, for example, which is what a lot of the trade deals are about. Our natural resources is we want to start exporting our minerals. We want to export our agricultural crops. Those things require a lot of hard work, a lot of investment, and a long period, a gestation period that is extensive, unlike oil. So every government has trumpeted the fact that we want to diversify the economy, we want to and some of them have good intentions to do so. I think the president's travels and his bilateral relations with a lot of the countries, okay, today he's going off to Turkey, which I looked up, and the funny thing to me was that Turkey is also in Europe, so we can as well say the president's gone to Europe. We don't know if he'll make a stopover in his favorite destination.
To be in Asia.
No, part of it is in Europe, and part of it is in Asia.
Yes.
So it's bicontinental, it straddles two different continents. But we can generally, jocularly say the president has gone on another trip to Europe because part of Turkey is in Europe. But no, I think this administration has paid a lot of attention to trying to deepen bilateral trade relations so that we can wean ourselves from oil dependency. However, there's a balance. By the time you put so much time into overseas trade focus, you might be shortchanging domestic issues such as insecurity and the health of our economy generally.
But is there some promise there that we can quote if you consider, some investments by foreign companies in Nasarawa State? The other day, the Minister of Solid Minerals was talking about, a gold mining investment company in the country. So is there some promise, however little? And when you also consider the potential with the AFCFTA, on the African continent, the, little increase in export activities going on there. So what are the promises that you see from that space?
We're looking at it from a broad perspective. You look at something like the MD of Shell announced that they'd be investing 20 billion in Nigeria's economy, and the reason they're doing it is because they believe that the steps the president is taking is strengthening the economy. The reforms are going to improve a lot generally, and that they have the confidence. So the administration is basically saying that FDI, that overseas investors are getting a lot of confidence. And it's not just about the oil sector like Shell, but that they're signing various trade agreements because the international community is seeing what the administration is doing and has confidence in the ability of these reforms to turn around the economy. So I would say that ultimately we will see gains, probably little by little at first, and then there will be a groundswell of improvement, because as long as the inputs are going in, over time they will germinate fruit.
Mr. Akintobi, I'm just feeling for you. But must let you go. Mr. Akintobi is a public affairs analyst and a journalist. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And please take care of that voice.
I shall rest the voice and be ready to go.
I remember when I did this when I was on the radio, I did this same thing. I went to its service. I was coordinating the service, and I screamed my voice out. I almost got my job on the line. Saying, you cannot use your voice like that. Because your voice is your currency.
Rested, really.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will switch gears. So our very first conversation for the day, and that has to do with what's playing out in Kano, politics, by Yusuf, the governor, and members of the State and National Assembly leaving for the APC. Well, the Kwankwasiyya movement, which is the core of the NNPP, seem not to agree because their leader is not following him. That's the conversation. Join us in just a moment.